Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher. Apologise for the lazy footage in the background. I am in fact working on something that I would like to be out before Stream Week begins on Monday. Yes, it does. Stream Week begins on Monday. So it was an important video I want to have finished by then. It's going to take me a couple of days to do, so don't worry about it. It's going to be one of those things that's kind of worth waiting for, I hope. So I'll be working on that. On that note, however, on Sunday, I will be taking part, if you've been following Twitter, on a square table discussion on the Finalboss show. It's going to be me, Altchat, Bay's going to be there, obviously, Bellula, Nobler, and Kelric. Some WoW YouTubers are going to be getting together with all kinds of things. It's going to be kind of like a WOD roundup, I guess. There's going to be all sorts of topics. So the idea is there's many different perspectives there. So you've obviously got various people involved in the PvE side, the lore side, and all different kinds of opinions on their aspects and their perspective on how things are going. What it won't be, and has been assured, is a wine fest. I think no one wants to see that, but more of an open discussion with some deeper ideas that maybe we can get out in usual sense with talking to any, you know, people who are a little overly obsessed with things. So it should be quite an interesting thing. So that will be at August 2nd, which is Sunday at 4 PM EST, 10 PM CEST. So check out your times. I'll be tweeting when it's going out. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. It's going to be a sit-down chit. It's going to be rather casual. So I hope you guys check that out. So I think that should be pretty cool. On another note, the biggest question I've been asked recently, so I thought I'd address it here, is who do I think was better, Method or Paragon, considering the videos are out now. I'm seeing all different kinds of things. It's a topic that I don't much care for, because I think whoever got #1 is the best, right? I mean, I don't see how that's up for discussion. But I don't think I could say that without some overly obsessive fanboy type attitude, which is like, well, this, and this, and this, and this. Honestly, I don't give a shit. I usually, or have been trying to over the last few months, not watch the videos of kills I haven't done yet. But my guild is taking it very, very, very casually at the moment. Very super casually. So I did decide to check out the Manaroth and the Archimon videos, considering we obviously have all legendary rings now. I think every single one of our raiders has it, and therefore it won't be anything like when we do it, so I thought it was worth checking out. One thing I would like to say is, going beyond the sort of fanboyish who came first, who's better, blah, 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 which players are the best, all that kind of stuff. I think one of the greatest things that I witnessed, and something for you guys that you should really be looking at if you actually genuinely have an interest in these kind of things, is the completely different styles of attack. The strategies that both guilds went with for each of those bosses. They're done in an entirely different way. And I don't say that in terms of, well, they slightly used a different comp or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the actual strategies involved in killing those bosses. So some of you will instantly be thinking about Paragon's kill on Archimon, where it was, or Archimon, whatever you want to say, where it was pretty clear that they dealt with Wrought Chaos in a different way by farming 2 lines, which was genius. At the same time, Method used an add-on that just said, is anybody overlapping? Genius. Both of those things are genius. But so do 2 completely different approaches. Is one favourable is obviously the question that some people come with. Do you think one strategy was better than the other? Inherently, it's hard to say that the strategy that won isn't the better one. But I think the main thing that I took away from that, and something for raiders looking to move up and things to consider when you decide on a strategy, I do have a video coming on farming raid strategies, it's going to be quite in depth, is Method's decision to include death as part of a strategy. And I think that is what could eventually, in a lot of cases, tip them over the edge, is Paragon really dislikes, or seemingly dislikes, doing that. They look for a strategy which involves everyone taking the absolute minimum amount of damage possible, and ideally everybody being alive, and that frees up combat reses for mistakes. What I saw, at least over the kill videos, and I didn't go in depth with talking to anybody about this, is a completely different style of approach by Method, which was, okay, we can actually build in death into this fight strategy, that we will kill people at certain times, and that will render certain mechanics far easier, and then allow us to push harder, get a kill quicker, focus on something else, and just not deal with this mechanic that is potentially either going to be a stumbling block, or it's going to take too many resources, more importantly, out of the raid to deal with, where the raid is more better suited, or in fact can cause us better progress by working on something else. And that is a really dangerous and ballsy strategy. The confidence level in including something like that in your strategy is actually astronomical. On the Manaroth one, we saw that they did that 3 times, which means all 3 combat reses were in fact linked to the strategy, which means deaths by mistake were unacceptable. because that actually renders the strategy useless. So you can imagine now, if you went in with 0 combat resist, some of you will feel very, very uncomfortable with that because people make mistakes. But to then go ahead and say, well, actually, we're going to go one step further and say that we are going to kill people intentionally. Yeah, we're going to kill people intentionally. And we have combat resis as an actual raid resource to counter that mechanic. So while you might look at things like barrier as a raid resource to counter mechanics, or you know, sacrifice, ironbark, life cocoon, what you can also say, what they did say is, well, why don't we look at combat res as an actual tool and a raid mechanic, and we can factor in death here and say, well, we'll just let those guys sacrifice and die. Not that that's anything new. Most people are used to using sacrifice, but usually at the very end of a fight. Certainly not in the mid level of a fight. It's very rare to see, and I think that was kind of my take on what maybe gave them a slight advantage in certain areas. Not that it gave an overall advantage. In terms of who's better, I honestly don't care. I think the answers speak for itself. But I'm not one-sided either way. My affiliations and all that doesn't really matter. Whoever won, right? You can be, if you get really upset about that kind of stuff, that's on you. It's not on me. It's not on me to try and sympathise on that side of thing. I think overall, though, we had a fantastic race, finally. Fantastic race, finally. On to the reveal of the new expansion. Obviously, a little bit of a stir kicked up that the new expansion will be revealed at Gamescom and not at BlizzCon. Over a month ago, we had a web show where I talked about this, and I pretty much, I'm not going to be the I told you so guy, but it seemed unfathomable to at least, I mean, we had a few thousand people in that chat, and a good proportion, probably 80% plus, called shenanigans when I said the new expansion is far closer than you think, and I would be actually really surprised if it was to be announced at BlizzCon. I would expect to see something sooner. If it was to be announced at BlizzCon, it's almost immediately coming out. And the signs have been there for a while. You only needed to take a step back and look and realize that, well, I mean, maybe even 6 months ago we saw this, is that it's pretty clear Blizzard's kind of given up on WoD. And that's probably the correct decision. I think that is the correct decision there. They've kind of given up on WoD, and Tanan and the Naval Shipyard kind of are the full stops or the exclamation marks to that statement, as they are very, very minor content. And the only real content we had in the latter half major patch of WoD, realistically speaking, was Hellfire Citadel. And while the Merc stuff is coming, which is a great idea, I'm fine with it, it was pretty clear that in terms of really bolstering WoD was not on the cards. And it's also seemingly clear, having gone back and looked at the announcements and things that were discussed for Warlords of Draenor, is that huge portions of content will actually cut. Huge portions of content were actually changed in some way and remanufactured. I mean, you can see that Tanan has simply been retooled as something to do to tide people over. And that's okay, kind of. I mean, I'm still paying for the game, and I'm not in a huge rush to pay you again, Blizzard. And I think that's what we need to take away from this is, yeah, it's the right decision to get the new expansion ready. Hopefully that new expansion contains a lot of the stuff that was maybe planned for Warlords of Draenor. We're obviously never really going to get an answer clearly and truthfully as to what really went wrong with Warlords. We can make some guesses. Absolutely make some guesses, and hopefully that's some of the stuff we'll get in depth with on Sunday on the Final Boss show. But we can certainly see that Warlords was clearly from a very early stage not going to pan out long term, and the decision was made relatively early on to shift most of this larger than ever World of Warcraft development team over to the next expansion. Now, it's in terms of customer confidence, that really is worrying for me, because we bought Warlords of Draenor. Did we get what we hoped for? No. No, we did not. And to say, well, there's a new expansion coming where you can throw your money at us, and maybe I think there's going to be a lot of promises coming out in my speculation over what's going to be on here. I would expect the new expansion to... I don't really care about the setting. I know some of you are very interested in that. That's not really for me. I would imagine we're looking at probably a very feature-heavy announcement of the new expansion. Very feature-heavy. I would expect most of the things announced at Gamescom to probably be a teaser and just a name reveal, if I'm being completely honest, but over the next few months leading up to BlizzCon, very feature-heavy stuff. I would really be surprised, and as I said on the Twitch chat, which people call me out for, if we're not already in alpha, or if not beta, by the time BlizzCon rolls around, I would be surprised. So those are my thoughts on those things, guys. I'm cracking back on with this big video. I hope you have a great day, a great weekend, and I will see you at the Drama Friday. if you're going to be there for the live show on Drama Friday. We also have a web show on Saturday, and I'm on the Finalboss show on Sunday. So busy weekend coming up for me. And then Stream Week starts on Monday. My God, so much stuff to do. So I will see you then, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.